The U.S. and Saudi Arabia are working on a package of arms deals and financial investments aimed at elevating economic and security cooperation after years of strained relations over the U.S. diplomatic outreach to Iran. The potential deals, coupled with U.S. President Donald Trump's arrival in Saudi Arabia this week for his first trip outside the U.S. since taking office, include a missile defense system and heavy arms the Obama administration either refused to sell to Saudi Arabia or pulled back from amid concerns about Riyadh's role in the conflict in Yemen, according to U.S. and Saudi officials. The arms deal is taking shape as the U.S. tries to encourage a longtime Middle Eastern ally to take the lead on regional security but without alienating Israel, another critical friend in the region. Part of Mr. Trump's goal is to get the Gulf states, principally Saudi Arabia, to help him achieve a peace agreement between the Israelis and Palestinians. Mr. Trump is scheduled to visit Israel after his stop in Riyadh. A senior U.S. official said every system that we're talking about with the Saudis maintains Israel's military advantage over its neighbors, known as its qualitative military edge. Israel is not objecting to the U.S. selling an anti-missile system, known as THAAD, to Saudi Arabia, U.S. officials said. The president is seeking new cooperation with Saudi Arabia on the fight against Islamic State and countering Iran's influence in the region, U.S. officials have said. You're going to see on this trip some steps toward beefing up and, maybe even down the road, formalizing a security arrangement with Gulf states, Arab states and the United States, an official said. Discussions over arms sales have been assigned higher priority over economic initiatives as the two governments aim to complete a deal ahead of Mr. Trump's visit to Riyadh on Saturday, AEST. That's the easy part, a senior U.S. official said of economic talks. The security stuff is harder. The governments have appealed to each other's top priorities, with Saudi officials promising to invest $200 billion $270 billion, in the U.S., and the White House committing to allow the new arms sales to Riyadh. Driving the outreach are the Saudi king's son, Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, 31, and Mr. Trump's son-in-law and advisor Jared Kushner, 36. Mr. Kushner coordinates the policy with the National Security Council, the State Department and the Pentagon. The Saudis know that the person who is trying to get Trump on our side is Kushner, said Saudi businessman and commentator Ahmed Ali Ibrahim. He is the guy who has the Middle East portfolio. Mr. Trump's premium on developing personal relationships with his counterparts is an approach the Saudis felt was missing with the Obama administration. In turn, King Salman last month named another son, Prince Khaled bin Salman, as the new Saudi ambassador to Washington. The monarchy in Saudi Arabia saw the election of Mr. Trump as an opportunity to reset ties with its most important strategic ally after relations soured during Barack Obama's 2 terms in the White House, largely because of differences over policy in the Middle East. The monarchy felt betrayed by the Mr. Obama's conciliatory approach toward Riyadh's top foe, Iran, which culminated in the 2015 deal with Tehran to restrain its nuclear program in exchange for lifting economic sanctions. The narrative of the Obama administration was that Saudi Arabia and Iran must share the region, said Muhammad Aliyah, a Saudi analyst and non-resident fellow at the Atlantic Council. The Trump administration is very clear that it will put allies first. Saudi officials quickly reached out to Mr. Trump's aides after the November election to lay the groundwork for renewed ties. The Saudis have been bending over backwards to try to strike a positive relationship with the president, said John Alterman, director of the Middle East program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. I think if he asked the Saudis for things he'd get a lot more than President Obama would have gotten. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis noted the shift during a recent trip to Riyadh, saying with a spirit of cooperation, we can overcome any past frustrations. When Prince Mohammed visited the White House on March 14, he presided over a 20-slide PowerPoint presentation that outlined, among other things, his government's plans to invest $U.S. 200 BN in the U.S. economy. His pitch, described by U.S. and Arab officials, also showed Riyadh's plans to open business opportunities for U.S. companies in Saudi Arabia, for stepped-up counter-terrorism operations and support for the Trump administration's renewed campaign to forge a peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. The presentation was created for Saudi Arabia by the U.S. consulting firm Booz Allen Hamilton, the officials said. It was designed to have the maximum impact on Mr. Trump, who campaigned on bringing jobs back to disadvantaged U.S. states, particularly in the Midwest, said one Arab official. Mr. Trump responded to the prince's offer of $U.S. 200 BN by saying he wanted much of the money to be funneled into Rust Belt states, such as Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, sources said. Those states helped Mr. Trump win the November election.